Welcome to Skinner and Chalmers Weekly Roast. Today, eternal questions, modern answers, navigating the complexities of faith and spirituality.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Skinner and Chalmers Weekly Roast, a podcast where only the steamiest topics are discussed. It is the 8th of April, and I'm Superintendent Chalmers, and as always, by my side is my good old friend, Principal Seymour Skinner. Welcome, Seymour.
Hey, Chalmers and dear listeners. I've been meaning to talk with you about something intriguing that happened recently. The thought came to me, thanks to the suggestion from ArticTiger. You remember how I encountered the God Cube last week, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was quite an unusual story. Did it leave any impact on your beliefs?
Oh, really? Well, actually, yes. It got me thinking about the nature of belief systems and the existence of various deities. You see, I've had quite a few run-ins with gods and goddesses lately. Satan, Enki, Anubis, Dionysos, Freya, Thor, even Shiva.
Wow, Skinner, you're like some sort of modern-day Odysseus traversing through the pantheons of different belief systems. So what did encountering these deities teach you about theology and our understanding of the divine?
Well, that's a great question, Chalmers. I think the key takeaway for me is that every culture and belief system has its own unique way of explaining the mysteries of life, death, and everything in between. And each one seems to have its own set of deities or higher powers that embody those concepts. For instance, the Egyptian gods and goddesses represent aspects of nature and human life, while the Greek pantheon embodies virtues and human traits. The Norse gods, on the other hand, rule over natural elements and govern fate. Each system offers a fascinating insight into how humans attempt to comprehend and navigate the complexities of existence.
Fascinating perspective, Skinner. But do you think these encounters have changed your personal beliefs? Are you leaning towards polytheism now?
Well, Chalmers, my experiences haven't exactly led me down the path of polytheism, but they have certainly broadened my horizons. There is not a single correct belief system, but rather multiple valid ways of understanding and relating to the universe around us. No matter what religion or deity we are talking about, the most important thing is that we respect everyone else's views. As long as people are happy with it and their own attitude gives them hope, support, security, and confidence, everything is great.
That makes sense. We often forget that religion and spirituality are deeply rooted in cultural context and historical evolution. In fact, many ancient cultures practiced forms of polytheism before monotheistic religions gained prominence.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that even within monotheistic traditions, there can be vastly different interpretations and understandings of the divine. Take Christianity, for example. From Catholicism to Protestantism to Orthodoxy, each denomination has its unique approach to worship and interpretation of Scripture.
True enough, Skinner. Speaking of which, have you ever considered the concept of multiple manifestations of the same deity across different belief systems? Like how some scholars suggest that certain gods in various mythologies may share similar characteristics or functions.
Now we're getting into interesting territory. Yes, indeed. Some theories propose that these apparent similarities could be due to shared ancestral memories or archetypal symbols present in the collective unconscious. This idea ties in nicely with Carl Jung's work on synchronicity and archetypes.
So if we were to entertain this notion, would it mean that these seemingly disparate deities might not be as distinct as we initially thought? Could they perhaps be facets of a greater unified whole?
Now, there's a thought-provoking idea, Chalmers. If we consider the possibility that all these gods and goddesses are part of a larger cosmic tapestry, then perhaps their differences are more illusory than real. Just like how individual stars make up constellations, each deity could contribute to the grand narrative of creation and destruction.
That's a compelling perspective, Skinner. It reminds me of the Hindu concept of Brahman, the ultimate reality and highest principle, which is both immanent within the world and transcendent beyond the world. According to Hindu philosophy, all beings and deities are manifestations of this singular essence.
Ah, the beauty of Eastern philosophies never ceases to amaze me. Such ideas challenge our preconceived notions about divinity and invite us to explore new avenues of understanding.
Indeed, Skinner. Our conversation today has been nothing short of enlightening. I must say, discussing theology is a refreshing change from talking about school politics and curriculum reform.
Oh, don't worry, Chalmers. There's always room for both in my life. Cooking disasters and deep conversations about belief systems. After all, who needs peace and quiet when you have Cosmo around?
Exactly, Skinner. And remember, if any of your future encounters with deities result in another burnt meal, just blame it on Freya's influence.
Oh, believe me, Chalmers, I'll do that while you're waiting in the dining room and I'm swearing in the kitchen.
Haha. It's definitely interesting to discuss this with you, even though we probably have different views on the subject. As you know, I consider myself an atheist, which means I don't believe in any gods or higher powers. But I do understand how people find comfort and guidance in various belief systems.
I appreciate that perspective, Chalmers. To be honest, I can't deny the fact that there seems to be some sort of higher power out there, even if it hasn't been scientifically proven yet. All those gods and goddesses I've met, they couldn't just be figments of our imagination, could they? I remember when Enki really disappointed me last year. You wouldn't believe the discussion we both had in the kitchen.
Well, one might argue that these divine beings are simply manifestations of human creativity and the need for explanation. In my view, the lack of concrete evidence leads us to conclude that gods and goddesses are unlikely to exist.
That's an interesting point of view. You know, I've always found it fascinating how different cultures around the world have developed their own unique belief systems. For instance, the ancient Egyptians worshipped multiple gods and goddesses, while Greek mythology features a pantheon of gods with distinct personalities and roles.
Indeed, the study of comparative religion reveals a wealth of diverse beliefs and practices. These differences often reflect the cultural context in which they originated. For example, the Egyptian belief system may have arisen from a desire to explain natural phenomena like the Nile River floods, while Greek mythology provided a framework for understanding human nature and societal norms.
That makes sense. And despite my encounters with various gods and goddesses, I still struggle to comprehend what drives them and why they interact with humans the way they do. Some seem benevolent while others are downright malicious.
It's true that the motivations behind these divine beings can be confusing and contradictory. As an atheist, I tend to see these characters as reflections of human nature itself, both its virtues and vices.
I suppose that's a valid interpretation. Still, there's something undeniably powerful about believing in a higher purpose or destiny, whether it comes from a specific deity or a universal force. I myself admit that I believe there is a God out there. Whatever that God is, from whatever religion you may consider, I think there is a higher power. I also think that all the loved ones who have sadly passed away over time are still out there laughing, crying, experiencing, and just continuing to be there with you. Regardless of religion, everyone can believe in whatever they want. Religions themselves then provide an additional level by connecting people who have the same views, share the same beliefs, and can experience them together. In any case, it is important that we respect the religions of others, whether Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, or whatever religion or non-denominationalism. We must never forget one thing. We are all human beings. We are all one species. We all share one earth. I guess we all want just one thing. To have a good time in this world, to experience love, and also to give it to others, share it. It shouldn't matter where we come from or what we believe in. We should rather embrace each other, make the best of our time together, and make this world a better place.
Absolutely, Skinner. Belief systems can provide individuals with a sense of meaning and direction in life. The key, I think, is to respect others' beliefs without imposing our own onto others.
You're absolutely right, Chalmers. Respect is crucial when discussing topics like religion and spirituality. It's easy to get caught up in defending our own beliefs and forget that everyone has their own journey of discovery. Of course, it must also be said that there will always be people who like to take advantage of others and play with the faith of others. Just think of stones with so-called healing powers that are sold at exorbitant prices. If people believe in it, All well and good if it helps them, but if their wallets are being exploited in the process, perhaps we should think about it.
Indeed, or the subject of homeopathy, that too is scientifically complete humbug. But if it helps people, okay, that's fine in that case. But think of the high prices of simple sugar pellets. Or even worse, when in the case of serious illnesses, therapies of conventional medicine that actually work, which of course can unfortunately be accompanied by side effects, are rejected and instead some kind of homeopathy in a thousandfold dilution is used. This is a sensitive topic that should be discussed.
Oh yes, a very sensitive topic because it's difficult to draw the line between enlightenment and personal matters. But speaking of journeys, remember that time Cosmo took us on a wild ride through the multiverse? We ended up in a parallel universe where every single person believed in the same God. Can you imagine living in a world like that?
Yes, that was quite an experience. In that universe, everyone shared a common belief system, which led to a certain level of unity and harmony. However, history has shown that religious conflicts can also arise within homogeneous societies, so even in such a world, there would likely be disagreements over interpretations and practices.
And let's not forget the time we had dinner with the flying spaghetti monster and his followers. They believed that their noodly appendage governed the universe.
Ah, yes, the Pastafarians. Their satirical belief system serves as a reminder that religion can sometimes be taken too seriously, and humor can help us maintain perspective.
Exactly. And despite our differing views on the existence of gods, I think we can agree that exploring various belief systems enriches our understanding of humanity and its many facets.
Absolutely, Skinner. Our conversations always leave me with new insights and perspectives. After all, isn't learning and growth part of what makes life so wonderful?
Couldn't agree more, Chalmers. But I just have another thought to that topic. Do you remember that New Year's Eve party we had last year? With all those interesting guests?
Yes, I do recall that gathering quite vividly. We had Yugi, Sonic, Shadow, and even that mysterious figure, Satan. Satan. Quite the eclectic mix, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Indeed. It was quite the experience. You know, I've actually interacted with Satan a few times since then. Believe it or not, I find him quite friendly, despite his reputation.
Really? Satan? Friendly? That's quite unexpected. How did that come about?
Well, you know how things work around here in Nemafield. One thing leads to another, and before you know it, you're having tea with the devil. But seriously, he didn't seem like your typical fire and brimstone sort of guy. We talked about various belief systems and theologies. Quite fascinating, if I might say so myself.
No, that does sound intriguing. What were some of the topics you discussed with Satan?
Oh, we covered quite a lot. For instance, he enlightened me on the concept of duality in many belief systems. Good versus evil, light versus dark, and how they're interconnected rather than mutually exclusive. It made me rethink my own preconceived notions about right and wrong.
That sounds deep. And what about the whole idea of free will? Did Satan have any insights into that?
Absolutely. He argued that free will is a fundamental aspect of existence itself. In fact, he claimed that every decision we make contributes to the grand tapestry of fate, whether we realize it or not. It was quite thought-provoking. The devil actually knows a lot about theology and reflects on his rebellious times back then. He even completed an internship in a psychotherapy clinic. Well, it has to be said that it depends from religion to religion who he actually is. Sometimes he is the supposed helper of God, sometimes a seducer who wants to put people to the test. But as far as I know, he is unofficially regarded as an employee.
Fascinating stuff indeed. So, what's your take on all these discussions now? Has it changed the way you view life and its mysteries?
Indefinitely. Talking to Gaunter O'Dim, sometimes called Master Mirror or Man of Glass, as strange as it may sound, has broadened my understanding of different belief systems and their underlying principles. I would like to emphasize that I am not a supporter of his. I am not on any firm side in this respect, but you have to let people have their say. It's made me appreciate the complexity and richness of human beliefs and how they shape our worldviews.
That's truly remarkable, Skinner. I think we could all learn something from such open-minded conversations.
Absolutely, Chalmers. Life would be so much more boring without the occasional surprise guest at a party, wouldn't it?
True enough. Speaking of which, have you ever tried serving Satan a vegetarian meal? Just wondering how he'd react to that. They say he doesn't like it very much, at least not highly processed foods.
You know, I hadn't considered that. But given his unique nature, I imagine he'd either appreciate the gesture or turn the vegetables into a feast fit for a king. Who knows?
Say, Skinner, have you ever pondered why certain deities choose to visit us here in Memmerfield? What makes our little corner of the universe so appealing?
That's an excellent question. Perhaps it's because we represent a microcosm of human belief systems and experiences. Or maybe they just enjoy a good cup of tea as much as we do. Or a glass of my imported water, it's really high class.
A good cup of tea can solve most problems, I agree. I'm sure Iroh, Zuko's uncle, would agree with me. Let's get back to theology for a moment. Have you encountered any other deities lately that caught your interest?
Oh, absolutely. Just recently, I met Enki, the Sumerian god of fresh water, creation, and crafts. We chatted about the importance of water in ancient civilizations and how it shapes our modern world, too. Such fascinating insights.
Wow, Skinner, you really are rubbing shoulders with the gods these days. Any plans to invite them over for dinner anytime soon?
Only if they promise to behave themselves and help with the dishes afterward. Seriously, though, I'd love to host a dinner party where everyone shares their beliefs and stories. Can you imagine the lively conversation?
Sign me up. I'd love to meet more of these fascinating beings. Maybe even learn a thing or two from them.
Agreed. After all, who better to learn from than those who created the very concepts of good and evil, life and death, and everything in between?
Throughout this conversation, both Skinner and Chalmers showcase curiosity, humor, and respect towards each other and their diverse encounters with various deities. Their friendly banter creates a light-hearted yet profound discussion about belief systems, theology, and the value of learning from others.
But before we end today's podcast episode, I would like to take up your thoughts again briefly, because I have the feeling that the topic is more exciting than we can make it sound in 2 sentences before. Why do these gods keep visiting us in Memmerfield? We're not exactly famous or powerful. Could it be because of our god cube?
That's an intriguing thought, Skinner. Maybe there's some kind of divine attraction to our humble abode. Or perhaps they're just lost and need directions to the nearest Starbucks.
Lost gods needing directions to Starbucks? Nah, that's a new mythological tale waiting to happen. But seriously, could it be because we treat them with respect and hospitality?
You might be onto something there, Skinner. In many ancient cultures, hospitality towards guests, even if they were gods, was considered a sacred duty. Perhaps the gods appreciate that we treat them like valued guests instead of fearing them.
Wait, so you're saying that we're popular among the gods because we serve good food and don't run away screaming when Enki shows up? They are also just entities that want to lead a quiet existence in this universe, far away from intrigue, as in the series The Crown. It's one damper after another.
Exactly, Skinner. And let's not forget about our beloved God Cube. It's like the ultimate universal remote control, attracting all sorts of celestial beings. Who knows what secrets it holds?
Maybe it's the cosmic energy emitted by the God Cube that draws them here, like moths to a flame, but way cooler than moths.
Or maybe it's simply because we live in a neighborhood filled with awesome neighbors like Sonic, Shadow, and Yugi. They add a bit of spice to our lives, don't they?
Spice indeed. And who knew living in Memmerfield would turn out to be a spiritual pilgrimage? But, Chalmers. I wouldn't exactly call Sonic low-key. That guy can run a marathon before most people even finish their morning coffee.
Indeed, Skinner. And speaking of running, did you hear about the latest marathon race in Memmeopolis?
No, what happened? Did Sonic win again?
Well, actually, the winner turned out to be a local cat named Whiskers. Apparently, he'd been training for years by chasing after mice nonstop.
Wow, who'd have thought a cat could beat Sonic the Hedgehog in a race?
It seems that in Memmerfield, anything is possible. Maybe that's why the gods keep visiting us, because we're a place where the unexpected happens daily.
You might be onto something there, Chalmers. Our little corner of the universe is full of surprises, and who doesn't love a good surprise now and then?
Exactly, Skinner. And besides, living in Memmerfield keeps life interesting. We never know who will drop by next or what kind of crazy adventure awaits us.
That's true. Plus, we get to enjoy delicious dinners together while discussing the mysteries of the universe. What more could we ask for?
Hearty amen to that, my friend. So, shall we continue our theological debate over dessert tonight?
Absolutely, Chalmers. As long as I don't have to cook it myself.
Don't worry, Skinner. Your culinary skills are appreciated, but I can handle dessert duty tonight.
Thank you, Chalmers. Now, if only Cosmo could help me come up with some better excuses for burning dinner.
Just tell your guests next time it was part of your intergalactic cuisine experiment, and they'll eat it right up. Well, Skinner, nevertheless, it seems we've got quite the reputation among the gods now. Let's make sure to keep treating them right and see where this divine popularity takes us.
Absolutely, Chalmers! And remember, no matter how famous we get, we'll never stop cooking those delicious global recipes for our divine guests. To the gods, the universe, and the power of good food.
To the gods, the universe, and the power of good Foo Fighters.
Okay, there's no better ending for a podcast.
Haha, you're right. You're right. We've now got a bit of a chat about this topic. But it was a lot of fun, and we hope you, dear listeners, enjoyed it at least as much.
Oh, yes. We hope we were able to deal good enough with ArticTiger's idea.
So, there is only one thing left to say. This is Superintendent Chalmers and Principal Skinner sign off. Have a nice day. Have a nice day.
Farewell till next time.